Hey folks, in this video I'm going to talk about and demonstrate a little bit when it comes to saddling. And actually I didn't get the horse I wanted, but she was the one that wanted to come in here the most. The other one actually wasn't too far behind. You can see she's just on the other side of the fence over there. And if I left the gate open long enough, she would have come in too. But this one likes to be with me a lot. So the minute I open the gate, she's quite willing to come in. I just say, come here, and then I point towards the gate, and in she comes. Real simple. And which is the way I like to have them trained. But she's not been ridden yet. Now, we probably will be getting on these horses soon. Now, they're 2 years old this spring. So technically, well, for a lot of people, it's actually old enough. But not for me. I don't think so. Because many studies have shown that they're not fully matured until about 6 years of age. So riding hard on a 2-year-old is not a bright idea. And I think it's actually expensive too, and I've mentioned this in other videos, because they kind of hit a growth spurt somewhere between 4 and 5. It varies from one horse to another. I've seen somewhere it was actually much later than that even. Not very often. Usually it's somewhere between 4 and 5. They'll get a little bit taller, but they'll really fill out a lot. And if you get a saddle that fits good at 2 years, by the time they're 5 or 6, you're going to be buying a new saddle. And that can be very expensive if you want one that fits well. That's one of the reasons I think it's silly to start them early, because it's going to cost you money, because a decent saddle is not cheap. You like that, do you? Okay. Anyhow, she was ignoring me. I just put a tiny bit of pressure on her and then stepped back when she turned to me, and well, here she is now. And that's exactly what we're going to do when we come to saddle too, because I'm not tying her for saddling. I don't want to tie, because I haven't talked about that one for a while. Talked about why I don't tie, because it causes problems and immediately ups their stress levels, because horses were, they survive on, well, they have 3 functions. They got fight, flight, and freeze. The one that a lot of people don't talk about. That's where you end up with a shutdown horse. Yes, dear, what do you want? You passed. And if you tie them up, you've taken away their ability to flee. You've restricted their movement, which immediately ups their stress level, because they aren't free to do what they think they might have to do to survive. And their survival instincts are very important. And if you take away their ability to flee, they might fight. If the horse gets really, really stressed, it might fight. And if it does that, well, either it can get hurt pulling, or you can get hurt when the horse starts to fight. Don't want that happening, so we're not going to do that. Now, for saddling, I like to have a lead on and a halter, so we're going to do that. We're going to put a lead and halter on her, and then we're going to put a saddle on, and then I'm going to show you what I do. You have seen me put a saddle on. I think it was this one. I have had saddle on both of them, and actually I've had them on once since then too, but that was very, very briefly. Both of them have had a saddle on, and we very briefly walked them around a little bit just to see how they'd react to the saddle, because a horse standing still and a horse moving is 2 very different things, and how they tolerate things and handle it. And when it starts moving, a lot of stuff goes on with that saddle when there's no rider in it, that it flops and flaps, and the stirrups hit them and bump them, and that might get them a little concerned. So yes, dear. Boy, she's being a nuisance today. She likes me. Sweetheart. Not even my horse. Too bad. I kind of like her. And she seems to really like me. Anyhow, so I'm going to put a halter and lead on, and then I'm going to put a saddle on and show you what we do. Well, as you can see, we got a lead and halter on her. Next step is we're going to have to throw a saddle on. Now, it's a little breezy today. No surprise. So I think what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to throw the saddle pad and the saddle on together. It's just going to be a little easier that way. And it's not like I'm putting it on for the first time, so it shouldn't be a huge issue for her either when I do it. Oh, look at this. Head down low and everything. I love this. I love seeing stuff like that. And that's, one of the reasons we do so much groundwork with horses is to create something like this where I'm standing here with a slack lead hanging over one finger, and she's standing here with her head down, nice and relaxed, and with me, paying attention to me and waiting for the next cue. That's what you want. But I'm going to show you some other things that we do. Oh, showed you in that last video how I hold the rope. It's laying on top of my hand, not wrapped around my hand. Yeah. Takes a while to get in the habit of doing that, because I demonstrate the wrong way and how easy it is to do it, because coiling up ropes, extension cords, air lines, hydraulic lines, all sorts of stuff. It kind of becomes habit, but it's a bad habit. And so I've had to make a point of learning to do this. And you probably will too, because it's not going to come a habit. Not right off the bat. After a while it will, and it should, because this kind of stuff is very important for your own well-being. And I'm just going to kind of even that out a little bit. And there's not dragging on the ground. I'm not going to get tangled in it, step on it. The horse isn't going to step on it, all this stuff. Okay, I'm going to go get a saddle. Okay, so now we've got a horse with a saddle on. And, well, I'm not going to bother showing you that part, because I showed you how I did it in that other video. How you got to be polite about it. Put the saddle on nicely. The cinch isn't even as tight as it would be if I was going to ride, because this is only, I think it'll be the third time now she's had a saddle on. So, you know, this is still relatively new to her. I don't want to bombard her with too much new stuff. And so that's why we haven't got it exceptionally tight. Although, well, it's almost tight enough to ride, but not quite. I can very easily get my hand in there, but we don't want her getting upset with something squeezing on her chest. So we're going to just do it up just enough to make sure that saddle's not going anywhere. Now, today I'm actually using my longer lead in case she needs a little more room. If I go with her, it should be long enough that I can keep up with her within the confines of this area in here. And what I'm going to do now, because I said before, sometimes horses are really good with things until you ask them to move. Now, what we did the last time we had a saddle on her is we just walked her around a little bit in each direction, same with the other horse. And today we might up it a little bit. We might up it to a trot, but we'll see. This one, she was pretty cool with it. The other one actually seemed a little nervous, so I might not go to a trot with her. I might just walk her again. But because she just, you know, she didn't, well, they're not the same, and it's, you got to make adjustments for each individual horse and what they need and want and what works for them and everything. But this one's pretty cool with stuff. So I'm thinking I might be able to trot her today, and she's never done that with a saddle on before. And when they start trotting, you know, all of a sudden stuff's happening. These things are flapping around, which won't happen when you're riding, but you never know. Horses got to get used to this stuff, so that the day that you're walking it around and nobody's on it holding the stirrup steady, because if you're riding, they're not going to be flopping around. Your feet will be in them. But you never know. And if that bumps the horse, you don't want the horse getting upset about it. So she's got to get used to all the movement this thing's going to do with nobody on it. Now, no, I don't want you that close. Get away from me. Thank you. So, we're just going to, there we go, good girl. We're just going to have her walk around nice and calm. And if she stops and turns into me, we'll just let her go. Now you see the purpose of this longer lead is she can make a bigger circle, which might make her a little more comfortable, because small circles are a little more work for a horse. All right, that was nice. She did that very well. Can you go the other way? There we go. Now I'm noticing with her, she's a little more concerned about this side, and you'll also notice her ears back. They're not a pinned ear, but they're concerned about what's going on behind, and in this case it would be the saddle. Good girl. Well, now I'm going to ask her to go the other way. No, 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 no. like that, like that. There we go. And this is where things can get a little surprising sometimes. Well, let's see what happens if we ask her for a trot. There we go. She's a little reluctant to trot, but then we haven't done much of this stuff with her this year. She's basically had the whole winter off. So, there we go. Good girl. Now she's pulling out a little bit, wanting to make a bigger circle. That's okay. If that makes her comfortable, I'm going to let her do that. I'll give her a little more line here. Let her go out. We're just being patient with her. There we go. And I go back to neutral and she stops and turns into me. Well, actually in this case she'll come into me because she likes to be with me. It makes her feel better. And you see I'm rubbing her with a rope in my hand and she doesn't care. And that's why we do all this stuff. We do all the throwing ropes over them, whips, flags, all this stuff. All serves a purpose because it leads up to this, because right now she's being exposed to a lot of things that are flapping around, whether it's the saddle strings, the end of the latigo, the stirrups, all this stuff. But guess what? Because we have been thorough with our groundwork, she's used to all that stuff, and it's not going to be a big surprise to her when some of this stuff happens. And that's what you want to achieve, and that's why you are going to be thorough with all of your groundwork and get it to the point where when you take this rope and throw it over them, that guess what? They don't do a darn thing. They don't care, because it means nothing, because they know that nothing bad happens when you do it. So next step in saddling, like I said, sometime this spring we are going to actually get on these horses. I'm probably only going to ride them for maybe a lap or two of the round pen, just so they get used to it. There's not going to be any hard riding at all, because I don't believe in starting horses that young. Getting on them at 2 years, might be okay. And by the way, that's another one of the reasons we're using this particular saddle is for a younger horse, this saddle actually fits a little bit better. It's a slightly narrower saddle than my other two saddles. So for a young horse, this saddle is actually the right one to use for two reasons. One, because it's a cheap saddle and I don't care if it gets a little scuffed or whatever. And two, because it actually fits a little better. And that's something that's kind of important, is that it fits good on the horse. Because we want her to be comfortable. We don't want her to associate the saddle with discomfort, something that's not a positive experience. And so we've had her walk and trot today with the saddle on. And that's our next step. And we're going to repeat this process a couple times, and eventually we're going to get her up to a canter. And eventually we're going to take the lead off and have her doing the whole size of the round pen. It'd be much easier if I don't have lead on doing that. And step by step, we keep increasing until the day comes when I do get on. It's going to be no big deal, because I showed you how we prepare them for our weight, a little bit at a time, until they're used to having weight on their back. She's also getting used to having a saddle on her back. Nowhere near riding yet. A lot of people won't put a saddle on until the day they're going to ride the horse, and they don't do their groundwork adequately, and they get on the horse, and when they ask it to move, it blows up and bad things happen. And that's what we're trying to avoid here. There's no reason for that. It's very stressful for the horse and dangerous for the human, and potentially dangerous for the horse too, actually. So we don't need that, and we can avoid that. Can we prevent it 100% all the time? No. Actually, I watched a video of another guy, very good horseman, I respect, and he got on a horse he was starting for the very first time, and it turned into a rodeo. Fortunately, that guy had previous rodeo experience. He had ridden broncs before in his younger days, and he managed to stick it out, and it wasn't long and the horse settled down. But that was, and I know he did his groundwork. I watched him doing it with that particular horse, and so no matter how thorough and careful you are, bad things can happen. So doing everything the way we're doing is not a 100% guarantee, but it's sure going to stack the odds in your favor, maybe 95 to 99%, somewhere in there, that when you finally get on the horse isn't going to freak out and have a fit. But I think that's enough for today. You got an idea what's going on here and how to do it, what we're doing. And I think we're going to call it quits and go get that one right there Like I said, if I'd left the gate open long enough, she probably would have come in too. That's the way I like it, is when I get them to the point where this area is a good place. You know, we don't do anything that stresses the crap out of them or worries them or scares them or hurts them. And that way, when we open the gate, we just say, hey, you, come here, let's go in here. And they do, because they know, okay, I'll get some attention in there and nothing bad happens. And that's what you want to do. Make the round pen a good place. Don't make it a bad place. And I'm going to do another video on that one. I've done one once before about the round pen and how it gets used and how sometimes it's misused. Actually, a lot of times it's misused. A lot of people don't even know how to use one properly. And that's why, for the purpose of my videos, I'm using it as a contained space to work with the horses in. I'm not using it as a round pen, because I don't want any of you thinking that you got to have one, because a lot of you do not have one, and not even all of you even have access to one. So it might be totally out of the question. So, but every one of you is going to have a halter and a lead. At least I sure hope you do. So that's why I tried to do absolutely everything with just a halter and lead, to show you what can be done with next to nothing. And that's our goal. And the only reason that we're in a round pen is because it's tall, it's solid, and I can keep horses in and other horses out. It's simply a very good place to work. And as far as an actual round pen goes, it's very rare I do anything in here that is, in fact, round pen work. Yeah, you don't need one. Anyhow, so I hope that helps you out a little bit. Starting a horse under saddle. Well, we're not on it yet, but the saddle's on the horse. So the horse is under saddle. Okay, it's confusing. Usually when you think of under saddle, it's the horse is being ridden, but not in this case. Nope. The horse is simply under the saddle. And it's going to get used to the saddle. And as you can see, I can shake it around, and she's not getting excited about it, because we've done all this stuff in advance that doesn't really much matter what happens. She's not going to get concerned about it. And actually, what's really odd is, I've said before, each horse is different. And this one is actually, in some ways, a little jumpier and more nervous than the other one. And yet, when it comes to putting the saddle on and walking her around with it on, the other one seemed a lot more concerned about that. So they all have their strengths and weaknesses. The other one was also a lot more difficult to trailer than this one, too, which, well, in the end, it still worked out. And we got her done, and you saw that video, too, and exactly what it took. And it was just a matter of time and patience. So, anyhow, have a good one, and see you on the next one. Bye now.